I've been playing SAKTK or Survive and Kill the Killers in Area 51 since 2016, and I can't believe I've gone almost 6 years without ranking all of the modes in this game. And while we're waiting for the next update to come out, I thought now has never been a better time. This list is based off of how fun the modes are, the replayability of the modes, and how much creativity they invoke for bonus points. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with this list, and feel free to. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, of course. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin with the top 10 SAKTK game modes. Yeah, Kill House mode. You remember this mode existed? Yeah, me neither. So what does this mode have to offer in terms of content? Well, you can complete a parkour challenge, unlock weapons for kills, and play a target practice test thing. Boom, that's it, that's the whole game mode. I get what the devs were going for here, a mode to test your target practice and aim with weapons, but why can't we do that sort of thing in classic mode? I know that classic mode taught me how to aim properly with weapons when I was younger anyway, so why not? And yeah, I know you can unlock the crossbow from this mode to use in other modes of course, but who would want this weapon? It's literal trash. Don't even waste your time. And yes, I'll bring it up, target hitboxes in the parkour section are extremely buggy. Bad. There just isn't any reason to come back to this game mode after you've gotten all of the badges. But I guess if you were to just play this mode once to get the crossbow and all of the other rewards, it's fine, but this does not feel like a true SAKTK game mode. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really don't like Extreme Classic mode. I mean, it's literally just classic mode, darker, the killers are stronger, and the headlamp exists. I can see someone going into SAKTK for the first time, playing this mode, and getting disappointed very quickly. And I don't blame them. Similar to Kill House, there is basically no reason to visit this mode at all. It would have been cool if the killers could grant you ×2 kills when you kill them as a setback or an achievement for playing, but no, they just take longer to kill, which is just annoying. And plus, the name Extreme Classic mode doesn't make sense either. This mode is still way too easy with anyone who has game passes. Like, all the killers do is camp the entrance, which makes it super annoying for anyone who's playing this mode for the first time. And the biggest problem is that you never know what's in the darkness. You actually have to pay attention to see when the killers are coming and listen for Slender Man's theme. The only positive to this mode is that it does have some exclusive items to light your way. But don't get me wrong, Extreme Classic mode isn't a bad mode by any means, it just feels like one of those awful Area 51 fan games with the dark fog and overpowered killers, and that's just not an enjoyable experience for me. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of storming mode. However, over the almost 3 years that it has existed in SAKTK, I've grown to like it more than I used to. For one, this isn't your typical SAKTK game mode. You and 20 other players are put into a story game where the goal is to free aliens and escape Area 51. This alone is an interesting twist to the formula of SAKTK modes, as up until this point, all of the modes were basically single player. Plus, you can play as different characters in this game mode. Do you play as yourself, which is the most balanced of the bunch, and Naruto Runner, Kyle, or Rock Thrower? They're my highest points. Now on to the rest of the mode. I've said this time and time again, but the biggest issue I have with Area 51 storming is the soldier NPCs. That's because they have stupid good aim on some of the later stages, which can completely kill your chances of winning this mode at all. Like, look at this, I have to stand in this corner and slowly kill the soldiers one by one to even have a chance at survival. Oh, and if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning. Yeah, you can buy a revive if you have Robux, but why can't all players get at least one free life? Oh yeah, and some of the stages are just a joke, okay? The giant zombie level literally wipes out 99% of the server you're in, which once again can lead to a quick and easy death to the soldiers. Trust me, I really want to put Area 51 storming higher on this list, because it has so much potential, even in 2022, but unfortunately, it does still have some glaring issues. Welcome to Classic mode, but a little bit different. Yes, hard classic mode. You're either gonna really hate me or really love me for putting this mode at this point on the list, and it's mostly for the same reason as extreme classic mode's placement. Hard classic mode is basically regular classic mode, except the map is a little foggier and the killers are smarter. Unlike extreme classic mode, however, the fog isn't horribly dark this time, which makes it a little easier on the eyes. Unfortunately, the exclusive extreme classic mode items like the headlamp and flashlight have been removed from this mode, but I guess it does make a little more sense now that the fog isn't as dark. But of course, the biggest upside to this mode is grinding. This mode is extremely useful for people who like grinding kills, as the killers always make their way towards you without you making their way towards them. But I don't grind that much, so I can't speak for those people. Hard classic mode definitely has its advantages and disadvantages, but if we're comparing it to every single other mode in SAKTK, it's just painfully mediocre. Okay, I'll admit, I do feel kind of bad for putting Boss Rush in the middle of this list, and that's because this mode has so much potential of being one of my favourites. However, at the time of making this video, there are actually only 2 bosses in the game mode. Don't get me wrong, I love the Kraken, but Aberration is just, too easy. So what is Boss Rush mode anyway? Well, basically you and one other player are put into a server where you have to fight a super powerful killer in a set amount of time. There are also specific classes that you can play as which come with their own abilities, kind of like Endless Survival's perk feature. For example, Sniper gives you better accuracy with weapons, and Scout gives you faster walk speed. This alone makes replaying the game mode for challenges a lot more fun as a whole. The only issue that I have with Boss Rush though, is that there are sometimes weird collision issues with bullets and other stuff like that. But I still believe that's a small price to pay for one of the most unique game modes ever created in SAKTK. There isn't really much I have to say here because Elite Boss Rush mode is essentially just regular Boss Rush mode, but harder. That's right, if you manage to beat one of the 2 bosses in regular Boss Rush in under 5 minutes, you'll be able to unlock their Elite versions, which not only offer more of a challenge, but also have their own attack patterns, making this mode even more replayable. I know that some people don't like challenges, but I still believe Elite Boss Rush is better than the original. Also, Cheeto Aberration. I love her so much. It's the one that started it all. Yes, Classic Mode, the most iconic game mode in SAKTK, and while it hasn't aged perfectly, it's still important to give it the recognition it deserves. In fact, a few months ago I held a community poll and Normal Classic won both of them. I don't really understand the appeal behind Classic Mode, maybe it's just nostalgia, I don't know. Just like the last mode we talked about, I don't really need to go over the basics of Classic Mode because, well, it's just Classic Mode. But whenever I'm bored one evening, I'll come back to Classic and remember the times when storming didn't exist, or that everyone thought the rate was SCP-096, or the fact that SAKTK found it difficult to make it past 500 players at once. Those were the days. But anyway, enough nostalgia. We have some better modes to talk about. I don't think many people were expecting me to put Killer Mode of all modes this high up on the list, but yes, I actually enjoy this mode more than Boss Rush and Storming, and I'm going to explain why. Killer Mode is essentially Classic Mode but with one big twist. You can play as the killers. Both the survivors and the killers go against each other for 10 minutes, then they switch. Survivors become killers and killers become survivors. This may not seem like a huge gimmick nowadays, but back in 2017 when we only had Classic Mode, Killer Mode literally changed SAKTK history. You can even use all of the killer abilities, like Granny's Trap, or Captain Zombie's summoning mechanic. It's a lot of fun to go through and test out all of the killers in SAKTK, and trust me, I would know best. I'm also a big fan of not being punished severely when you die. If you fall at the hands of the enemy team, you can get right back to playing immediately. The fun never stops. And yes, I know that some of the guns against the killers in this mode are very unbalanced, like the SVD, OP, and Ray gun, but actually, I see this as a good thing. This mode requires strategy, and when you die, it's always you or another player's fault. It's almost never the game's fault. The only thing that I don't 100% like about Killer Mode is that some servers are boring and don't offer much of a challenge, but you can disagree with me if you want. But regardless, Killer Mode is still by far one of the most important modes in the series as a whole, and I think it should be kept that way. Well, Now you know what number 1 is, but before we dive into that can of worms, let's talk about Endless Survival Mode. Endless Survival takes Classic and Killer Mode and throws them out the window. No longer are you up against a set amount of killers. As the mode's title suggests, you're put against an endless number of them. An endless number of killers, rounds, waves, and possibilities. You can purchase guns from the walls, buy traps to stop packs of killers, use perks that give you special abilities. This mode adds so much to the SAKTKIA formula, and honestly, it's sad how none of these mechanics have made their way into the other modes. I've been playing this mode consistently since it came out in December 2018, so I found about the mystery box and traps just by playing the game. Now, if I had made this list a few months ago, I would have likely put Endless way lower on this list, and that's mostly because of the round saving. Yes, you can now save your round if you leave the game, which, my god, makes this game mode so much better than it used to be. I also love how insanely customizable the private matches are. You can start on 5, 10, or even round 20 if you're feeling really crazy. Enable or disable easy mode, hellhound rounds, or magic. I'm also a big fan of the difficulty in Endless. This mode is not easy, and on the later rounds, you better make sure you saved up a ton of points for perks and weapons, because you'll need them. I know we were just complaining about storming mode being too hard, but at least it feels fair to die in Endless. And trust me, I died on round 46 a few months ago, so close to 50 rounds, and never once did I feel cheated on in any way. It's always your fault if you die, and that's what I like about these game modes. It was really difficult picking between this mode and the last mode we're going to talk about, because both of these gems are almost equally as great as each other. But of course, we have a list to make. So without further ado, let's get on to the number 1 pick. Of course it's going to be Juggernaut mode. Yeah, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that Juggernaut is by far my favourite mode in the whole of SAKTKIA, but I've never really said why. You may remember at the beginning of this video how I said that we were ranking these modes off of replayability also. Well, if you're looking for a replayable mode, this is the one to play. In fact, just ditch all of the other modes and only play this one. It's that good. Juggernaut mode is like Killer mode but on steroids. Most players are made survivors and are forced to spawn in different locations around the map, collecting weapons in different spots as they do so, while one player is selected as the Juggernaut, and must defeat the other survivors to win. It's not only more fast paced than Killer mode, but it also requires a great deal of strategy and luck to win. Every decision you make can contribute to either your survival or demise. No matter what role you play, everyone has a chance to win, and because the gun and killer locations are different every round, it offers endless replayability. There are also tons of badges to collect in Juggernaut, which obviously are super easy of course, but at least they exist for new players to find. Do you see why I love this mode so much? This isn't just my most played game mode in SAKTKIA, but video games in general. I know that I'll be playing Juggernaut mode for months or practically years after this video has been released. It's just really that perfect. Yeah, honestly, I could go on about Juggernaut for another 10 minutes, but I think it's time to wrap things up. I've got to admit, this list was insanely difficult to put together, and deep down, just know that I love every SAKTKIA mode. Yes, even Storming and Kill House. They're all great in their own way. But anyway guys, make sure you all let me know what your top 10 SAKTKIA modes are in the comments and why. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day guys. Until next time.